Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you might be joining us. Welcome to the Purpose and Beyond podcast. I am your host, Kelly R. Jackson. Let's just get right into it as we always do. It's time for our word for the weekend. One verse, Psalms 32 and 5. Psalms 32 and 5. How does that read in the New King James Version? The Bible says this: I acknowledge my sin to you, and my iniquity I have not hidden. I said, I will confess my transgressions to the Lord, and you forgave the iniquity of my sin. How does that read in the New Living Translation? The Bible says this: finally, I confessed all my sins to you and stopped trying to hide my guilt. I said to myself, I will confess my rebellion to the Lord, and you forgave me. All my guilt is gone. My brother, my sister, we have become too proficient at carrying guilt. We have become too good at just walking around with a whole bunch of stuff on us. We have become way too good at just accepting the fact that, well, there's just this pit in me. There's just this thing in me that knows that I've done something wrong. And well, that's just life. And I'm just going to carry it. I'm going to carry it along with my pride because I refuse to admit that I've done anything wrong. I refuse to accept responsibility for what I've done. I refuse to be accountable for what I've done wrong. And it's not just something, as we're reading the Bible on today, as you are listening to the Purpose and Beyond podcast, and you know this is a Christian podcast. It's beyond just the church, y'all. Now, I'll deal with the church in just a second because this is our Bible. And so that means it's speaking directly to God's people. But even as it relates to this nation, the original sin of this nation, which is slavery. And this nation has decided that we'd rather ignore it. We'd rather pretend it didn't happen. We'd rather tell people to get over it. We'd rather pretend that it's so long in the past that it doesn't even matter today, even though some of the things of the past are being implemented today, even up and through elections. We have decided as a nation that we don't want to talk about it anymore, that we'll ban the books that speak about it, we'll ban the people that speak about it, and we'll ignore our history instead of confessing our history and confronting our history, and yes, even apologizing for the things that we've done. We have decided that we're just going to push it to the side, sweep it under the rug, and act as if it did not happen, and hope that everybody gets over it. Does that sound like anything that maybe you've been dealing with? Maybe I've been dealing with? Does that sound familiar to us? That we say, let's just sweep it under the rug and pretend that didn't happen. Let's just go on about our lives and decide we don't need to speak to certain people anymore, that we don't need to acknowledge anything anymore. Does that sound like us? Now, it does sound like us. I'll answer that question for you. But let me ask you another question. Does it sound like it makes any sense? This Bible is very clear, and I've already said that this Bible is speaking directly to the church. And so even beyond this nation, this is an issue that we have even in our churches today, where we don't know how to come clean, where we don't know how to take off the weight of guilt, that we don't know how to put it down as opposed to just carrying it for the rest of our days and letting it weigh us down and break us down when we know such a thing is not good for us. The Bible specifically says here, as the writer of this psalm, he says, I acknowledged my sin to you, God. I confessed my sins. In the New Living Translation, it says, and stop trying to hide my guilt. Have you ever thought about what it means to be guilty? Have you ever thought about what it means to be guilty and nobody really knows just how guilty you are? The energy that it takes to carry your guilt, but then also the effort that it takes to cover up your guilt. The effort that it takes to pretend that it was everybody else's fault but yours. The effort that it takes to pretend that, well, I did you wrong, but you deserved it. Have we ever considered what it really means to hide our guilt? So here we see the text on today as we get ready to hurry on, try to get out of here on today. The text says in the New Living Translation, finally, I confessed all my sins to you and stopped trying to hide my guilt. Finally, Lord, I confess because you already know what I've done anyway. Finally, Lord, I decided to come clean because you already knew how dirty I was. Finally, Lord, I decided to break down and sit down and talk to you about what I've done. I didn't decide because the holidays are here, let's get together and have dinner and push it to the side and sweep it under the rug. No, I said, I'm going to sit down, God, and I'm going to come clean about who I am and what I've done. The Bible says again, I finally stopped trying to hide my guilt and I confessed all of my sins. But here's the thing, y'all, before we get out of here on today, that I find interesting about the rest of this verse. In the New King James Version, it says, I said I will confess my transgressions to the Lord. In the New Living Translation, rather, it says, I said to myself, I will confess my rebellion to the Lord. Now, why is that critical, Pastor Jackson? Why are you saying that? Here's why it's critical. Because the writer of the psalm didn't have to be pushed, didn't have to be prodded, didn't have to be made to do it. The writer of the psalm said, I said to myself. The writer of the psalm says, I checked myself and I said, self, we can't go on like this. We can't continue walking around with guilt on us. Y'all do understand that guilt isn't about whether or not you did something wrong. Guilt isn't about if I've done anything wrong to you. Guilt is about knowing. Guilt is about I'm guilty and I know that I'm guilty. And I know that it was my fault. I know that I'm the one that did something wrong. No matter what was done to me, I'm still responsible for what I've done. That's what guilt is, y'all. It is acknowledgement. It is accountability. It is saying, as the writer said, I said to myself, I will confess my rebellion to the Lord. And y'all catch me here real quick. Not because God doesn't know, but because I owe God this. Because I owe God an apology, even in the fact that he knows what I've done. Did y'all catch that? I owe God an apology, even though he knows what I've done. You owe people an apology, even when they know what you have done. And so the Bible says confession is key. And I got to leave you with this here, because one of the things that we struggle with in the church is the confession piece. We know we're all guilty. We know we've all fallen short of the glory of God, but we haven't confessed it. We haven't said it with our mouth, because y'all saying it with your mouth is acknowledgement. Saying it with your mouth is accountability. Saying it with your mouth means I recognize that I'm wrong and I offer no excuses, but I do offer an apology. I do offer a sincere request. I do offer a sincere request for your forgiveness. This is what the writer is saying here. I know, God, I know you know that I've done wrong, but I'm offering a sincere request on today for your forgiveness. And I pray that you give it to me so that we can be reconciled. As it relates to this nation has not offered a sincere request for forgiveness. This nation has said, y'all forget about it. Matter of fact, we're going to wipe it out of history and pretend it didn't happen. Y'all come along. Let's act like nothing happened. And so I'm encouraging you on today that if you carrying some guilt, God already knows, but he wants to know that you have it in you. Will you say to yourself, Lord, I apologize for being rebellious. Lord, I apologize for disobeying you. Lord, I apologize for being on the wrong side of your word. And Lord, I am offering a sincere request for your forgiveness. And you know what's going to happen, child of God? The Bible says, you forgave me. All my guilt is gone. The Bible says if you take it to the Lord and you sincerely confess it, God will release it. But you got to get that confession piece down. You can't just wake up in the morning and pretend that nothing happened. You got to say it out of your mouth. Lord, I apologize, and I'm asking for your forgiveness. And we see right here in the text, he's faithful and just to forgive you. Let's leave it right there. That's all the time that we have for Word for the Week, and I pray that you were blessed by what we had to share. Very quickly, I'll give you our tag. If you'd like to keep up with us, check us out at the ministry's website, www.krjministries.org. Again, www.krjministries.org. If you want to purchase any of our written works, check us out at the publishing website, www.krjpublishing.com. Again, www.krjpublishing.com. If you'd like to connect with us at For the Kingdom Christian Church, receive our text alerts, our word of encouragement video, our devotional reading on the weekend, and any other thing that we do have to share, text the word CONNECT to 586-800-1007. Again, 586-800-1007. There's also a QR code on the screen. If you're watching us on the video side, you can scan that code and connect with us. We would love to have you be connected with us at For the Kingdom Christian Church. If you're listening on the audio side, we encourage you hit that subscribe button. That way you know when new episodes become available. We would love for you to be a part of what we're doing here on the Purpose and Beyond podcast. If you're watching us on the video side on the Kelly R. Jackson Ministries YouTube channel or the Kelly R. Jackson Ministries Facebook page, be sure to like and follow us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you know when the new videos are popping up. Again, we don't want you to miss a thing here on the podcast. Listen, if you want to be a sponsor of this podcast, visit www.patreon.com/purpose and beyond. Check out the different levels of sponsorship that we do offer, some as low as $5 a month. If you don't want to do the whole Patreon thing, just want to sow directly into the ministry, visit www.krjministries.org/donate. You can donate directly into the ministry. All major credit cards and debit cards are accepted there. And as we tell you all the time, however you choose to bless us, we will be satisfied. I want to make sure I invite you all to join us for worship service every Sunday morning at For the Kingdom Christian Church, where I am the pastor. We stream our services every Sunday morning at 10:15 a.m. on our Facebook page. Find us by searching For the Kingdom Christian Church or at FTK Church. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel by searching For the Kingdom Christian Church. Subscribe there and join us for worship service every Sunday morning at 10:15 a.m. If you are in the Detroit area, you want to come by in person, we do have in-person worship service. Check out the Facebook page, or if you're watching on the video side, check out that slide that we just had up on the screen. You can get the address. Come on by and worship with us in person. As we tell you each and every week, we would love to see your face in the place. That's all the time that we have for our word for the weekend. I pray that you all were blessed by what we had to share. God bless you and God keep you is my prayer as always. We'll see you all on next time. Be blessed.